Welcome to the Based Boomer, political commentary, news, and opinions. From your favorite boomer, your host, Bill Boomer.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Based Boomer. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about our justice system and the disparities involved there. You know, with all this stuff going on with Trump, we'll get to that in a little bit, but let's start with a little bit of local knowledge and a little bit of local information. Here in the last 6 to 8 months, I've had the opportunity, when driving a little bit of Uber, to pick up a couple of guys that were, one guy was taken down to the county jail and another guy I was picking up from the county jail. These two guys had both suffered arrest for DWI, were sentenced to 30 days in jail, and the judge was allowing them to serve their 30 days 3 days at a time, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, every other weekend, so they could still work their job and that stuff. These guys, both of these guys, I want to point out, were white men in their 40s, and one is in their 40s, the other one early 50s. And both of them told me the same story. They went down for their weekend, and they said the county jail, was full of young black guys that were in there for same thing they were, DWIs, and some of them marijuana possession. That was before marijuana became legal in the state. And he told me that they both told me the same story. These guys would go to jail. They didn't have money. That when they went in to be arraigned, they didn't have money for bail. They couldn't get bail, so the judge locked them up. They went into jail. They'd have to sit there 30, 60, 90 days, maybe longer than that, before they'd have a trial date. They got a local prosecutor or defending attorney, I forget what you call them right offhand, but the public defender, I guess. And every one of them, they said while they're there, he said these are young guys, had jobs and families and stuff like that. But by the time they got through their court proceedings, might be 90, 120 days later, maybe even longer than that, 6 months. He said by the time they got out, they'd lost their jobs, their homes, their families, all of that, just for some simple marijuana possession, something like that, some stupid crime. And the amazing thing about it was they said there weren't white people in there like that. These guys were all minorities that way. I thought, you know, that's just amazing. Then I had the opportunity to drive a lawyer that I discussed that with, and he said, yeah, it worked that way. He said, it's just not, you know, the system's not set up equal justice under the law isn't necessarily true. We see that happening all over the country. You know, it's been studies after studies that have shown that when cocaine became popular with the white people, then they get arrested for cocaine, they get a lighter sentence. Well, when what happened in the black community, it was crack cocaine, and they had mandatory sentences that were lots harsher than what the white people got. So the big disparity in that. It's something that I think everybody pretty well knows and understands. There was an article in the paper, the Kansas City Star today, about a police officer that was suing the police department because he said he was racially told to target minority neighborhoods to issue tickets, because they could issue multiple tickets on each stop to make quotas that they were required to make. And he said, you know, quotas in this state for the police are illegal, but they were told to go to minority neighborhoods and issue tickets. And when he questioned it, he went to the human resources people to complain about it and all that. They all got on his case for not doing his job. I thought, isn't that crazy? So he's filed suit, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Another very interesting case that that came up here just within the last 30 days or so was about 6 or 8 months ago, a fire truck, a driver of a fire truck on Broadway Street in Kansas City. I'm not sure if he was on a call or not, but he ran a red light, hit a car, a pedestrian car, killed 3 people, and ran into a building. The driver of the fire truck did.
Those 2 weeks of the KSHB 41I team pushing for answers, we now know Kansas City does have a safety system that can change traffic lights for first responders on the way to an emergency.
Of course, this topic came to light after this deadly crash involving a KCFD pumper truck in December of 2021. You'll recall 3 people were killed when that pumper truck ran a red light and collided with an SUV. The attorney for the pumper truck driver brought it up in a statement.
He claims the city did not fully install the system, writing, quote, "The city has failed to install the receivers onto these traffic signals." Tonight, KSHB 41 investigator Cameron Taylor found out the pumper truck did have that system installed.
And Cameron, you discovered the intersection did not, right?
That's right, Caitlin Dia. That's just some of the new information I got from the city today. Now take a look at this map here. This is where the city says they've installed the Opticom systems at intersections, 100 in all right now. If we zoom out here, you can see they are all over the city. Now what you won't see on here, Westport and Broadway, the site of where the deadly fire truck crash happened. New information reveals Pumper 19, the one involved in the 2021 Westport crash, did have an Opticom emitter. A spreadsheet given to the KSHB 41I team shows 13 vehicles have the system. Here's how the system works. The manufacturer, Global Traffic Technologies, says a fire truck sends a signal from its infrared emitter. The detector on a light receives the signal, then cycles it to a green light for the oncoming emergency vehicle. The problem is, Westport and Broadway did not have a detector. More than a year ago, the pumper truck ran a red light northbound on Broadway Boulevard and crashed into an SUV, crossing Broadway at a green light on Westport Road. 3 people were killed. After the pumper truck driver's plea hearing, Dominic Biscari's attorney Kevin Regan issued a lengthy statement. In it, he claimed the city failed to fully install the Opticom system, so we began looking into it and now have answers. The city tells the I-Team 100 intersections have the Opticom system. We went to see it for ourselves at Brookside and 51st and Brookside and 55th. The city says a single light costs around $3,500 to install the system. A 4-way intersection, about $14,000. We now know the city is looking to expand the number of intersections that have the system, mainly along the streetcar extension route. So here's a look at what the city calls priority Opticom installation sites. Again, you'll notice the 29 sites are mainly along the streetcar extension route if we take a closer look right here. I did ask if the city has any plans to install the system at Westport and Broadway, but did not hear back tonight. I also heard from the pumper truck driver's attorney after I shared this new information with him. He told me the city is being reactive and not proactive. He goes on to say, quote, "The city's refusal to install Opticom at the intersection of a triple fatality collision is tremendously unsafe and short-sighted." I also reached out to the attorney for the Westport victims' families. He told me they did not have a comment at this time. For the KSHB 41I team, I'm Cameron Taylor.
The prosecuting attorney, after it's gone on for about a year, they filed him, charged him with 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He pled guilty to those and got 3 years probation. We'll hear about 30 days ago, a young 19-year-old guy speeding, ran through a red light, hit a cop in a police car, hit a policeman in a police car, killed him and a homeless guy. They've charged him with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and I thought, you wait and see, he'll end up with 15, 20 years in jail.
We do have breaking news this morning. We have learned that an 18-year-old man from Tonganoxie is facing charges in the crash that killed a Kansas City, Missouri police officer, another man, and a police canine Wednesday night. The man to your right, Jaron Lightfoot, is charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in the first degree. This is according to the Jackson County prosecutor. Now, prosecutors say that Lightfoot was speeding, going around 85 miles per hour when he ran a red light and crashed into Officer James Mulbauer's car near Benton Boulevard and Truman. Now, they are not saying whether he was intoxicated or inebriated in any way. The other man, who was just walking, died when that police cruiser crashed into him. The dog also died at the scene. Mulbauer was a 20-year veteran of the.
You know, for 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, where the cop or the firefighter killed 3 people, and he's getting probation. So that tells you about our justice system. You know, it's absolutely crazy. It's just not right, and people know that. It's inbred in the system. You know, you talk about systemic problems. The people that work the system and are in the system know it, but nobody seems to want to fix it.
I'll cut
Now
this
let's talk
out.
a little bit.
I'll cut this out, but how much time did that guy get for the 2 counts?
He hasn't gone there yet. He's still under. They'll probably be a year before he gets a trial. But I'm watching that just to see. You know, now let's talk a little bit about nationwide with everybody. Well, just before we go there, a couple of statistics. You know, in the United States, we've got 1.6 million people in jail. We lock up more people than just about any other country in the world. And the cost to keep a prisoner in jail for a year is anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. That really started expanding and growing in the 90s. In the 80s and 90s, when they started mandatory sentences, and we started to expand the for-profit prison industry. Then everybody that was getting arrested or getting charged with something get sentenced. They wanted them all to go to jail because they had to fill up those prisons in order for these guys that running these prisons to make a buck. So it just expanded and exploded the number of people go to jail. People are going to jail for right now, I look at it right now, with 1.6 million people in jail, probably 40% of those people are for drug-related offenses, and I would say probably 50 or 60% of those people are for nonviolent offenders. A lot of them for marijuana. Since marijuana is becoming legal in so many states, why are these people still in jail? Why are we paying? You want to talk to the cost to the taxpayer is footing a ton of money for that, just so we can put money in somebody's pocket. Absolutely ridiculous, you know. That's one place we could save a lot of money and use the money to rehabilitate people. Use it for drug rehab and things like that instead of putting it in some guy's pocket. But for some reason, we just can't seem to do that. It makes no sense to me. I appreciate you listening in today. Thank you all. Take care.